Welcome, welcome to dozens of you who are here already, even before the show started. Welcome. My name is Josh Greene. Welcome to the Progressive Pulse. Hope everybody had a restful and fulfilling weekend, even through these stressful days. It's important to stay healthy, stay motivated. The number one thing that these far right extremists want is for you to feel defeated, is for you to feel crushed. Right now, your job is to practice revolutionary optimism. Your job right now is to stay motivated for those who don't have the power, for those who are being screwed over the most by this administration. I'm talking about the kids in Gaza. I'm talking about people in America who are losing their health care. I'm talking about innocent Venezuelans who are being bombed indiscriminately in the ocean by Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, and J.D. Vance. Today, J.D. Vance, instead of working for the American people, he was found on Charlie Kirk's podcasting his day away. So if you're just tuning in, my name is Josh Greene. You're watching the Progressive Pulse. It is 1:32 local time, Los Angeles time, 4:32 Eastern time, where we will be joining the President of the United States, or so-called criminal masquerading as our president, Donald Trump, about to make remarks at the Oval Office. I have a live feed pulled up, so we are going to hear from the President of the United States. What is he going to be talking about today, you may ask? He may talk about Venezuela. He may talk about what's happening with China. He says he's going to have a trade deal with China coming soon. We'll see if that actually helps the American people because, as we know, most of these tariff deals end up making things more expensive for the average American. If you're just tuning in, make sure to click the like button on YouTube. You can do it on your phone, your computer, and make sure you're subscribed as well because I go live throughout the week and I post YouTube videos as well. These are always longer videos, chance for me to dive deeper into topics that deserve the proper attention. And then, of course, on TikTok and Instagram, I post short form videos to get straight to the point. So we are going to bring you Trump as soon as he comes to speak. But today, first I want to just get you caught up on all the breaking news of the day so far, including, like I mentioned, J.D. Vance went on Charlie Kirk's podcast. He did so as a way to pay respect to Charlie Kirk, but really, this was propaganda done by the Trump administration. This was a coordinated effort from J.D. Vance to show solidarity with the far-right extremist movement that has taken root in our country right now. Fans of Charlie Kirk have been radicalized by this man, Charlie Kirk, who they are now revising history and suggesting that he is some type of Christ-like figure that just went around the country spreading good debate, when in reality, we, the American people, remember who Charlie Kirk really was. He was divisive. He was racist. His rhetoric incited violence himself. He called for looser restrictions around guns in this country. He even is on the record multiple times saying that certain deaths are necessary every year so that we can maintain the Second Amendment. That's a very despicable policy to advise. And by the way, people say, oh, he was martyred because of his political views. These are not political views that he had, by the way. These were white supremacist views that should not be taken seriously in regular politics. These are not good faith political views. And does that mean that I am condoning violence against him? Absolutely not. But the irony is, it's becoming increasingly clear that the shooter was conservative, and the shooter may have been even more far-right than Charlie Kirk and took Charlie's life because Charlie wasn't far-right enough. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to the fact that the shooter was a fan of Nick Fuentes, who is not a household name like Charlie Kirk, but he is quickly rising. If you remember, he was more popular during Trump's first term. He's the neo-Nazi white nationalist who rose to fame during the Charlottesville crisis because he took the side of Donald Trump, saying that there were good people on both sides. Nick Fuentes was instrumental in uniting the right, the white right, if you will. And then what happened after that, Nick Fuentes dined with Donald Trump. And, oh, excuse me, some people are saying my connection is not good. Let me see what's happening. It says that I'm frozen. Should be okay. Everything looks good on my end, so if there's an issue, let me know. I should be back. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Cool. Okay, we're back. Anyway, as I was saying is Nick Fuentes dined with President Trump, dined with Kanye West, now known as Ye. These are neo-Nazis we're talking about. And then he kind of faded into obscurity because Nick Fuentes has been banned from every social media platform, rightfully so. He's a Nazi. But he has been rising again in the political arena because he has been one of the only right-wing personalities to condemn the genocide in Gaza, but not for the right reasons, mind you. Nick Fuentes doesn't care about Middle Eastern children. He just actually hates Jews, so he hates Israel regardless. So nonetheless, he is gaining a new audience because people are seeing him as an ally to the Palestinian cause, even though it's for the wrong reasons. Then you have the fact that his supporters, known as Groypers, are even more extremist and even more right-wing and overtly violent than people who supported Charlie Kirk and the people who support Donald Trump. And there are increasingly obvious clues that the gunman, Tyler Robinson, was a fan of Nick Fuentes. The writings he put on the bullets were related to cultural memes that Nick Fuentes talks about on his show, like Bella Ciao, stuff like that. So at the very least, it looks more likely that the shooter was right-wing than left-wing. Of course, no matter how true that may be, the mainstream media has already failed us because they, in a rush to get the story published first, allowed fake information to get out, claiming the shooter was a leftist, claiming the shooter had pro-trans ideology on the bullets. That has all been retracted now, but it already got out into the ether, and right-wing extremists are running with that now. We'll see what Donald Trump says today about this as I bring you a visual of his broadcast real quick. And I'll show you that as soon as Trump is ready, we will bring him to you live because he is going to be signing a proclamation from the White House. So let me go ahead and give you a feed of the president real quick. Hang tight. And while I get this ready, let me know in the chat where you're watching from. If you're new here, I can't wait to hear where you're watching from. And make sure you are subscribed, following me on other platforms. And if you want to support my work directly, which I know a lot of people have done, thank you so much. You can do so via Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo. Both are linked in the description of this YouTube video. That helps support me directly, helps grow the channel, and it's a really awesome show of solidarity. So let me know if you have any trouble accessing that. And here is the visual right now that we are getting of the White House. So you can see exactly what I'm looking at too. And until Trump is ready to speak, we're going to cover the other breaking news of the day because I think there is a lot to cover right now. But as soon as he's ready, I will bring him to you. Awesome. Sweet. This is what we're looking at right now outside the Oval Office, waiting for Trump to speak today. It says he will be signing a presidential memorandum. This could be related to what he was supposed to sign last week before canceling multiple times, both due to his health and then also due to Charlie Kirk. This could be related to the pharmaceutical industry, but it also could be related to what just took place in Venezuela. Let me show you right now what Trump tweeted literally 20 minutes ago about Venezuela. Check this out. Here we go. Make sure everyone can read this okay. He says, this morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified, extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility. The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans heading to the U.S. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists. I'm going to use air quotes around terrorists because we don't know anything about these people. And the last time they told us they bombed terrorists, they took the lives of 11 fishermen. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists killed in action. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. The illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens no longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It looks like there might even be a video, so we can take a look at this. This appears to be what Trump is referring to. And they blew it up. Does everybody see that okay? That's crazy. That is crazy that the president just casually tweets that. Like we're supposed to believe that there were 3 terrorists on that boat. That's very bizarre. I'm going to go ahead and also pull up the live on TikTok, purely to let people know on TikTok that we're live on YouTube. And I'm going to show this video again because I want to record this as well and make sure that everybody knows what just happened. Fortunately, it's not very graphic because it's far away. It's a satellite image. But let me get the live going on YouTube real quick, or on TikTok. By the way, has everybody seen Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting today that she wants a, quote, national divorce? She is not calling for violence, but she's saying she wants the country to split. She doesn't want to be in a country with leftists anymore because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, even though we don't know whether or not the shooter was a leftist. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. So, okay, let me show you again too what happened, so everybody's aware. Check this out. And thank you for being here, everybody. As soon as Trump speaks, I have a live feed ready. We will bring that to you. As we go live on TikTok now. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to read this again for you so everybody knows what's going on. Donald Trump just announced new military strikes on Venezuela. He says, quote, "This morning, on my orders, U.S. military forces conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified extraordinarily violent drug trafficking cartels and narco-terrorists in the Southcom area of responsibility." We know all that. He also says, quote, "The strike occurred while these confirmed narco-terrorists from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal narcotics, a deadly weapon poisoning Americans heading to the U.S. These extremely violent drug trafficking cartels pose a threat to U.S. national security, foreign policy, and vital U.S. interests. The strike resulted in 3 male terrorists." Again, we don't know anything about who these people were. The last time they blew up a ship of 11 people who they told us were terrorists. There was no due process, by the way, and even if they were smuggling drugs, which does not necessarily qualify as being a terrorist, and they weren't, by the way, they were Venezuelan fishermen, they didn't get prosecuted, they didn't get arrested, they were bombed indiscriminately, and that seems to be the same thing that happened here. So take everything Trump says with a massive, massive grain of salt. Here's the rest of what he said. "No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Be warned, if you are transporting drugs that can kill Americans, we are hunting you. The illicit activities by these cartels have wrought devastating consequences on American communities for decades, killing millions of American citizens no longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter." I want to show you the video again real quick, so everybody can see exactly what happened. This is what the president posted, okay? Watch this. That's the boat. Destroyed. Trump trying to show us the power of the Department of War, the power of the military-industrial complex, which Trump campaigned on being opposed to. He said he would be the no new wars president, and now we are blowing up random Venezuelan boats in the middle of the ocean. They just failed the first mission by failing the 11 innocent people they unalived by blowing them to smithereens. And now they are trying to do better by blowing up more terrorists, even though they didn't get any bad guys the first time around, and they most likely didn't do that this time around. These people could have been whoever, but they'll tell us that they were terrorists. And this is just another distraction from the Epstein files, another distraction from Trump's failed economic policy at home. And a lot of people are wondering, what does Donald Trump have against Venezuela? Why is he so intent on putting us at war with Venezuela? It's a very interesting question. I don't have a great answer, but what I suspect is he is really frustrated that the U.S. Supreme Court has prevented him from deporting hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans who have legal status, who have protective status that was granted to them by the United States legal process. The MAGA Trump Supreme Court that Trump handpicked, that he rigged, still sometimes sides with the Constitution, still sometimes doesn't let Trump act like a dictator, and they are preventing Trump from unconstitutionally deporting hundreds of thousands of people. So instead, it sounds like he's taking out his rage on the country of Venezuela instead, and he wants to apparently blow people up before they come to our country. That is the type of fascist thug that we're dealing with right now, and this is not getting talked about enough. The president just posted a video of the Department of War blowing up a ship, committing an act of war, while telling us at the same time that there is no war going on. Well, we just saw it with our own eyes. We just saw it with our own eyes. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is happening almost every day now. At the same time, Trump is admitting that he has no idea how to solve the crisis in Ukraine. He's saying that he underestimated Putin's desire for peace. Really? You know, I'm not sure Kamala Harris would have been a perfect president. She had a lot of problems. But one thing she warned about was that Donald Trump was going to be played by Putin. And Kamala Harris at least had the common sense understanding that Putin has no desire to end the war in Ukraine, because the war in Ukraine is one of the main factors keeping Putin in power right now. Just like Trump can point to undocumented migrants as the cause for all your problems, and just like he can point to what's going on in Venezuela, him blowing up ships, as how strong he is and how this is going to save American lives, Putin can direct all of Russia's problems towards Ukraine. He can say Ukraine is the source of all their evil. And so what happens if there's no more war in Ukraine? Well, then the pitchforks come for Putin. So this is common sense knowledge to pretty much every American, but unfortunately we have a fringe, far-right extremist minority that took power by rigging the game and also by too many people not voting. They say they won in a majority, they say they won in a landslide, that they got a mandate from the American people, when in reality millions of Americans didn't vote. And these are the consequences of that. So if there's one thing I can do with my platform, it's the one thing Charlie Kirk didn't do. People say all Charlie Kirk wanted to do was get Americans excited and engaged in the political process. What he was really doing was brainwashing impressionable teenagers and college kids to believe in far-right extremist ideology under the guise of Christianity. What I'm doing is actually getting people involved in the political process. Whether you're a young person, whether you're an older person, so many people need to be informed by what's really going on. And I don't mind if Trump supporters watch my show, because too many Trump supporters don't actually pay attention to what Trump says and does on a daily basis. They blindly support him. This is a game to them. This is football for them, right? It's a sport. It's like, let's beat the liberals. Haha, make the liberals cry. And meanwhile, innocent people in Venezuela get blown up thanks to your tax dollars. Thanks to your tax dollars. That's the reality. Let's take a look and see if we have an update from Trump on when he's going to speak. Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, there's 207 of you. Join me on YouTube right now. Link is in my bio, or you can simply search Josh the Progressive. Very easy to find. You'll see the live show. This episode is titled Breaking Trump to Sign Presidential Memorandum, and that's exactly what he's going to do. When you get to YouTube, now I see there's 239 of you, come to YouTube from TikTok and let me know in the chat that you came from TikTok, because you can actually see the broadcast and the live feed of Donald Trump as he's about to speak in the White House. And for those watching on YouTube, let me show you the latest update. We are still waiting right now. So in the meantime, let's continue covering the breaking news of the day. Including what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. And thank you, JK9161, for coming from TikTok. And thank you for everybody for supporting the show by watching on YouTube. So here's what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Now, I know a lot of people have been more favorable of Marjorie Taylor Greene in recent days because they think she's an ally to the Epstein survivors. They think that she's critical of Israel. Don't be mistaken. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a far-right religious extremist, a bigot, and she has no place in modern American society with her kind of rhetoric. At the very least, she should not be holding public office. I want to find her tweet. Okay. I want everyone to take a look at this right now. Again, last chance on TikTok. Come join on YouTube. I have multiple people on YouTube now saying they came from TikTok. So link is in my bio, or search Josh the Progressive on YouTube. And let me show you what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say
but we got to go and save
right
our
now.
Cities, our great cities. Chicago's a great city, and we're going to make it great again very soon. And I think we can do that.
Take a look at what she tweeted.
Tremendous size. I think we can do a real job, and we're going to give you the resources that you need. So with that,
this is from a U.S. Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I have it pulled up here on the screen so you can read it, but I'm going to read it with you now. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, quote, "There is nothing left to talk about with the left. They hate us. They assassinated our nice guy who actually talked to them peacefully, debating ideas. Then millions on the left celebrated and made clear they want all of us dead. To be honest, I want a peaceful national divorce. Our country is too far gone and too far divided. It's no longer safe for any of us.
Very hopeful.
You hear Trump's voice? Is Trump speaking? No, he's not speaking yet. When he speaks, I'll bring it to you.
I'm tired of crime.
If anybody gets word that he's speaking before I know, let me know.
I have spoken today.
Sounds like Trump in the background? Let me see. I don't hear him yet. Is he speaking?
The U.S. Marshals with
Oh, let's see. Well, they haven't brought the feed inside yet.
this.
Hang on. Time out. Thanks for the heads up. Here comes President Trump. Here we go. All right, here's a different feed because I don't have that feed pulled up. All right. President Trump has just begun speaking in the White House. So let me show everybody real quick. Oh, time out. We'll make sure that everything looks good so everybody can see everything appropriately. Okay. All right, last chance. If you're on TikTok, come join on YouTube right now because here comes President Trump speaking from the White House. Let's take a listen.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to have you here. We have some big things to announce. Today, at the request of Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee, who's standing with us, as you know, I'm signing a presidential memorandum to establish the Memphis Safe Task Force, and it's very important because of the crime that's going on, not only in Memphis, in many cities, and we're going to take care of all of them, step by step, just like we did in D.C. We have virtually no crime in D.C. right now. And we're going to keep it that way. It's our nation's capital. We're going to keep it that way, or we're going to federalize it if we had to, but we don't have to anymore because it's in such great shape. This task force will be a replica of our extraordinarily successful efforts here, and you'll see it's a lot of the same thing, although the numbers here are really something. They're really bad. Now, we did send FBI in about 4 months ago to work, and it brought some of the numbers down, and they did a great job, but we're sending in the big force now. We also sent them in.
If you're wondering on TikTok where you're hearing Trump, I have him pulled up live, so come watch on YouTube. Go to the link in my bio on TikTok or search Josh the Progressive, and you'll be able to see what we're watching.
I was with a great businessman, a man who is involved in all cities through his business. And I say, who do you think should be next after Memphis? And he said, sir, you've got to save Chicago. We're going to wait a little while.
Notice what he just said, by the way. Everybody, listen. He just said they're going to wait on Chicago because he has been backtracking his threats to go into Chicago. He is slowing down the rhetoric because clearly he is worried about the constitutional ramifications of doing that. J.B. Pritzker has actually been able to stave Trump off. Is that the word I'm looking for? Stave? He's keeping him away.
He said, you got to save Chicago. You can't let it go. And this is a very prominent man that everybody knows in this room. Another man in Memphis was saying, Bill, he was saying, very interesting, he's on the board of FedEx. And his hotel is about a block away. And he said, when I walked there, I said, you know, I don't want to do this again. I never want to do it again. And they won't let me walk there. They take them in armored vehicles. They take the board members of FedEx in armored vehicles like a block away to the hotel. This shouldn't be the U.S. This shouldn't be the United States of America. The task force will be a replica, as I said, and it's going to be, I think, equally as successful. This is a tremendous success we've had in Washington, I can tell you, and everyone knows it. And people in the White House that work here and other people that I know are calling me and thanking me. They're going out to dinners. They're doing things that they haven't done in years. The effort will include the National Guard as well as the FBI, ATF, DEA, ICE, Homeland Security investigations, and the U.S. Marshals, and more along the prosecutors. We're going to have DOJ led by U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, who is here or not here? Is that person here? That person is going to be very busy.
Look at the circus.
So we're going to have U.S. Attorney
What
for
a
the
clown
Western
show
District
this
of
is.
Tennessee, and most importantly, Pam Bondi's here. She's heading it up, and she's doing an unbelievable job in every respect beyond this. So also worked with some of the members of the team right here on DC, and we're very proud of that effort. We essentially had the crime down to a very low rate in 12 days, and within another 10 days after that, it was so incredible. And it continues at that level, and we're going to continue. We have to, because it's our capital. This team will deploy the full powers of federal law enforcement agencies and enforcement generally to restore public safety and get dangerous career criminals off of our streets. We're going to get them off. In 2024, Memphis had the highest violent crime rate, the highest property crime rate, and the third highest murder rate.
Hey, is anybody watching from Memphis or from Tennessee in general? Let me know in the chat on YouTube right now so I can see. I would love to know what people of Tennessee think about what he's doing.
Today than in Mexico City. It's been, and you know Mexico City is not a cakewalk. It's been overrun with carjackings, robberies, shootings, and killings. There were 249 murders, 429 rapes, 5,616 burglaries, and 12,522 violent assaults in just the last little while in 2024 and in pieces of 2025, where it's actually gotten worse until recently when we sent the FBI down to see what the hell is going on. Last month, a vicious thug carjacked an elderly woman parked at the movie theater, dragged her out of the car, and body slammed her into the pavement, where she is still trying to recover. Probably won't be successful. So we're not going to allow this kind of savagery to destroy our society anymore. We're stopping it, doing one by one, time, but we want to go quickly. We don't want to lose Chicago. We're going to lose Chicago. We're going to lose places like...
How are you going to lose Chicago? Chicago isn't going anywhere. Crime is decreasing in Chicago. Yet there is a real problem with crime. I'm talking about violent gun crime, because this administration does not care about the fact that guns are easier to get than a car.
You go to St. Louis. We're going to lose St. Louis. We're not going to lose. We want to...
You're going to lose St. Louis?
We're going to lose him. He was... The way the man said it, a very high-quality man. I said, who would you do next? He said, sir, do Chicago. You don't want to lose Chicago. We're not going to lose Chicago. So we're going to have to go very big, and we're going to go probably, we're thinking about it for next time.
I just texted my
we're going to do
friend
some
from St.
of the
Louis.
smaller ones, and the truth is our people are so good. Gaddy, you're doing a great job wherever you may be. We're doing so good that I don't think we need too much practice, right? But we got to go and save our big cities, our great cities. Chicago's a great city, and we're going to make it great again very soon. And I think we can do that. Despite the tremendous size, I think we can do a real job, and we're going to give you the resources that you need. So with that, I'd like to just end by saying we're going to make Memphis safe again, and I'd like to ask Governor Bill Lee to say a few words, and then Pam can talk, and anybody else you'd like to talk to. We'll go through the whole list. We have all day long if we have to, because this is a very important thing. We have to save our country from violent crime.
Reporters better ask him the right questions today. I don't want them to ask about this distraction of the day. Ask him about the Epstein files. Ask him, why did you just unalive more people in Venezuela? What are you doing to actually help Americans? Those are the questions that need to be asked.
So, Bill?
Yes,
please.
sir, Mr. President. First of all, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your commitment for federal resources to the great city of Memphis. And it is a great city, and it has a great history
Yes.
and a great legacy. And we are very hopeful. And
Hey, if you're watching on TikTok, I'm going to keep reminding you every few minutes because so many people are joining. Come watch on YouTube and let me know when you get to YouTube that you came from TikTok. Those are my favorite comments to read. Link is in my bio, or Josh the Progressive on YouTube. You can just search it. Computer, phone, come join me.
with Joe Bondi, we realize that this effort of multi-agencies that will combine the work of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the local police departments, when we come together, we can make significant change in our city, in the city of Memphis, and that is a powerfully important thing for the state of Tennessee, and I want to say thank you.
This will be your proudest moment when we see you in 4 or 5 weeks, maybe sooner. You're going to see numbers that will drop and plummet like you haven't. Just like we did in D.C., they plummeted. Nobody can even believe it. And they're going to plummet. It'll be one of your really proud moments, and you've done a good job too. But this will be maybe your proudest moment.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
And the director, as the director said, the goal is sustained.
Right. Got to keep it.
Sustained crime lowering, and that with this effort, I believe we can get there. We can finally get there for that city.
Yep, we're going to have it sustained a long time. And your people are going to get better and better, and your police force has been terrific. They're working with us very much, as you know. We started it, as I said, on a little basis, and we got it down quite a bit, but now we go in for the big march.
Wow, almost
And Director
100 people
Patel
watching on
and his
YouTube.
team
If we can get a
have
few more
done
people
remarkable
coming
work
from
so far.
TikTok,
And
we're going to have the most
numbers are
people
great, and
of the
this
day
will be
so
one
far,
more
so
step
come to
in the right
YouTube.
direction for Memphis.
That's true.
Thank you.
He's done a very good job. Thank you very much. Pam, please.
President Trump, at your
Pam
directive,
Bondi.
we went in, as you all know, to D.C. and took over the city of D.C., working hand in hand with Metro Transit Authority. All of the agencies represented here today got over 2,000 violent offenders, got over 200 guns off the streets of D.C., and D.C. is safe again. And now, Governor, working with you and working with our 2 U.S. senators and all of our agencies working hand in hand, we're going to do everything we can to make Memphis safe again. That was President Trump's directive to us, and it's easy to do when you're working with such great leaders. And Secretary Noem, you have been instrumental in
More North Korea style praising. They have to spend so much time, so much taxpayer dollars, wasting time thanking each other. If you have to thank each other so much and praise each other, are you really just projecting? Are you really just pretending that you're doing a good job?
this, and Director Patel has already been into Memphis and gotten so many violent offenders and guns off the street, and that's what started it. And working, Stephen and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, thank you. We've all been going nonstop, working hand in hand together, and Gowdy Serralta, Terry Cole, and Director Driscoll of ATF wearing 2 hats, and Pete Hegseth with the National Guard, all working hand in hand and being out there for a month. You can't tell who's with what agency but for the t-shirt they're wearing, because everyone's working hand in hand, and that's why we've been so successful.
No, Pam Bondi, you can't tell what agency people are working for, not because of their t-shirt, but because all of these people are essentially brown shirts. They're essentially secret police for this fascist thug sitting down covering his sick hands. They're wearing masks to hide their identity. These are masked agents that we're seeing patrolling our cities, patrolling our streets, okay? This is not regular government officials. They are doing your every order, and this is a very insane breach of constitutional authority.
And do that in Memphis, and we're going to get crime off the streets.
That's great. Thank you, Pam. Great
Thanks,
job.
President.
Christy, go ahead.
Mr. President, Memphis has a high number of trafficking, significant human traffickers, child exploitation, drug trafficking. The local gangs there are extremely dangerous, and I'm so excited that you're going in there to work with not just the governor and willing local leaders, but also our Attorney General and all the leaders that are standing here today to help protect our children. So what's going to change dramatically is the families' lives that live there. And
it is rich to hear Kristi Noem talk about protecting the children when she is standing about 5 feet away from one of the biggest suspects on the Jeffrey Epstein client list. The man who literally wrote Epstein a lewd birthday note talking about how they keep secrets together. A man who literally helped send women from Mar-a-Lago to Epstein's island. And a man who has been found civilly liable for sexual assault. This is the guy that you're putting in charge of protecting the children? What about the minors who were hurt and who had their lives destroyed by Donald Trump and by Jeffrey Epstein that you're now undermining because you don't want to release the files, you don't want accountability, you don't want justice? And by the way, Kristi Noem, you shot your own dog.
it's only going to happen because of you, because you're coming in. What has started there, you're going to put on steroids. The networks that you're going to uncover across this country, because of the work that's going to happen in Memphis, we're going to see every city get safer, because we're going to see those ties to other criminals that we're going to get out of the country. So we're a nation of laws, And sir, thank you for caring about every single city.
Thank you, Christy. Really nice. And what makes it to me so exciting is the success we had here so quickly. And, you know, we've taken close to 1,500 people out of D.C., but when I saw the result happen so quickly, and so many people are so thankful, and people that you pass them every day and they're fine, all of a sudden.
Who is thankful? When you went into a restaurant in DC the other night, you were met by protesters who were screaming, "Free DC, free Palestine. Trump is the Hitler of our time." And they're not wrong.
And they're thanking me so profusely. It was so exciting what's happened and continues to be what happened in D.C. And so that's what makes this, I think, even more exciting, because we know what's going to happen. We know we have the people. Look, we're sending in a lot of help. These cities have been taken over for years, and the last 4 years under Biden, what's happened is just a disgrace. So it really has, what the success we've had here has made it to me much more exciting, because I think we're going to have proportionally. I mean, you have cases where it's even worse. I have some people, we have some people quoted today that we took out of papers. "We're so grateful for the National Guard coming," said an owner of a...
Look at this. Look at this disgusting criminal pretending to be our president. He's got papers, folks. He has some pieces of paper that tell you how happy everybody is about the National Guard taking over our cities. Let's hear from these testimonials of happy American customers.
Memphis Tax Service. It's so dangerous here. It's so darn dangerous that you can't get out of your car. If you get out of your car, it says you get robbed, you get mugged, you get hit. You can't go to the market or a service station. So yeah, I want to see crime stop, and I want to see the National Guard come in right away if that's what's necessary. There's a need. Here's another one from a director of a Memphis-based crime prevention organization. There's a need for more boots on the ground. You have to get them done fast before we totally lose it. They're going to lose it all. I got 2 guns put in my face, said another, within 5 minutes at 2 different locations. Said I got a gun put in my face. Then I went someplace else, had another gun put in my face. I was scared. It never happened to me. I've never seen anything like it. Here's another.
Story time with President Trump. This is story time with Grandpa, everybody. Old sundowning Grandpa is reading us some comic books right now about a fake America.
Another one. I honestly thought he was going to kill me, said a 60-year-old Memphis carjacking victim. A man walked up, "Give me your car. You got 5 seconds to get out or you're dead."
Could you imagine if Joe Biden did this? If Joe Biden made all the media watch him read stories off a piece of paper, and barely read for that matter, they would say Joe Biden is slipping, Joe Biden is sleepy. But instead, we have this old thug reading us stories like it's bedtime. It's way past his bedtime, that's for sure. And he's telling us that we need to take over cities with the National Guard because of these select anecdotes that he's reading off a piece of paper that Caroline Levitt probably just printed for him half an hour ago.
This is what we have in this page after page of the same kind of thing. Cash, would you say a few words, please?
Oh boy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to your brilliant foresight, you had asked us to go in quietly into these cities to help set the landscape, to work with the interagency, and to make America safe again. And we've done that under the FBI's banner program of Operation Summer Heat. And
Right.
the results are only as good as the prosecutions. And because the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General have mobilized DOJ to successfully prosecute so many violent criminals, we have set the landscape for the interagency to come into Memphis and really make it safe permanently. As the governor and the senators and the other directors were saying, it's not a short-term mission, but thanks to you launching us early, launching us quietly, not looking for the credit, Mr. President, we greatly appreciate your support and the advanced foresight you had in doing that.
It's so exciting. And
That guy is so creepy. And by the way, this is the same guy who completely dropped the ball on the Charlie Kirk investigation. They got one suspect, then he wasn't the guy. They got another suspect, he wasn't the guy. They have a guy now, but they can't even get the story straight as to who he is and what his motives are. And everything they release about him, don't trust it at face value. Try to read between the lines with this administration. That's the purpose of this show. That's why I'm so glad you're all watching right now.
somebody had to do this. A president should have stepped up long ago and saved these cities. So it's not that I wanted to do it, believe me. Somebody had to do it. and we're doing it in a big way. Pete, could you say a few words, please?
Yes, Mr. President. From day one, the DOW, the Department of War,
I'm glad you made that correct.
has been.
It's so funny how he had to correct himself that it's not the Department of Defense anymore. It's clearly the Department of War because they just blew up more innocent people. As you saw earlier on this show, they blew them up. But let's listen.
Been proud to stand with our partners across the interagency, whether it's Southwest border, whether it was Los Angeles getting ahead of that, whether it's right here in Washington, D.C., where Secretary Driscoll and the Army and the National Guard have taken the lead in helping across all of these great folks to secure the city. We are very proud to be here, to stand strong alongside law enforcement. We're glad that Memphis is the place to go. The volunteer state, we're not going to have any problems with the Tennessee National Guard being willing to go in and stand strong in Memphis.
Not at all. And get ready because you'll be doing a lot of other places that are almost as troubled.
You got it, sir.
Some of them are equal. You look at what's going on in Baltimore, where the governor is telling me how wonderful it is, and you can't walk across the street without being shot. Could I ask our two great senators to say a few words?
Of
please?
course,
Please,
Mr.
Marcia.
President, thank you so much. I want to say a thank you to Director Patel because he had promised that he would come into Memphis. We've had Operation Viper there this summer. There have been over 500 arrests. There are over 100 indictments. And
Yeah, this
Memphis
disgusts me too. You're
had
not the only
best
one.
Stats
This is disgusting.
they have had in years this past August. Last month, it was the best August they have had. And it's because of the work that's been done. And now to have a new phase of this enforcement for Memphis, where we are going to have all of these agencies working as a team, as the governor said, making certain that this is a long-term effort to make Memphis safe again. Mr. President, we are so grateful and we thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. And this is an issue that's plagued Memphis since I was a boy, Mr. President. And it's time that we addressed it. And I appreciate your leadership allowing us to do that. And the team that you've assembled here is going to help us deliver the most fundamental responsibility of our government, and that's public safety. This shouldn't be a partisan issue. This should be something that is our primary goal. And certainly I hope to see Memphis become the safest city in America. And thanks for the effort of all of your team here to make certain that happens. Thank you, Governor Lee, and I want to say thanks to the Memphis Police Department and the Sheriff's Department there too, who have all worked closely to bring this together. I look forward to tremendous results.
And I want to thank the FBI for the last 4 or 5 months because they have brought down the numbers quite a bit. Chicago here and a couple of other places that we can talk about later if anybody wants to. Could I ask you to, Terry Gaddy, say a couple of words also? You really did lead the charge here and you've done such a great job. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for always supporting law enforcement. I think the major difference here in Washington, D.C. has been your support for law enforcement, has been empowering the men and women that are on the street working every single day. And I look forward to not only going to Memphis, but other places in Tennessee as well. And I think you'll hear from us real soon, Mr. President. Thank you for your support, sir.
We have plenty of places.
Yes, sir, we do.
You know the country very well. That's great. Thank you, Terry. Please,
Mr.
Gaddy.
President, I just want to say that we're honored once again to lead the charge with the United States Marshal Service, leading
What?
and joining.
What happens every time they do this? Do they meet backstage and they say, okay, we're going to do this and everybody is going to take a minute to thank me, Mr. President, because we need to show the media how united we are. We have to show the world that we are all working as a team. They do this every single time. It's so disturbing and weird. But let's continue because hopefully soon we'll actually hear reporters grill this president or grill because they handpick everybody nowadays anyway.
22 other federal agencies. I can say that today we spoke with over 30 of the local agencies, letting them know what to expect, giving them the template that we've done here in DC, so they know what to expect. They're extremely excited. I think everyone is going to be well receiving the law enforcement surge that we're about to take to Memphis.
Great job.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask one of the best lawyers in the country. He is one of the best. Todd, say a few words, please. He is a great lawyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I think it's been said for the past 15 minutes, the president ran on making this country safe again. And we do not make this country safe again unless we go into our cities where there's the most violent among us and go street by street and block by block and arrest the men and women in this country that are destroying cities and communities for the rest of us. And so what we plan on doing, as the governor said and the senator just said, this has been a problem in Memphis for a long time. We plan on delivering Memphis back to the citizens that are there to raise their families, to go to church, to be in their communities. That's our goal, and that's what we plan on doing, whether it takes 2 weeks or 2 years. That's what we're going to do.
Next time. The great Stephen Miller, please say a few words.
Thank you, Mr.
Show
President.
the same emotion you do on television. That's hard to do.
Yes,
I think that's going to
see
be
if I can do it. President Trump's initiative here in Washington, D.C., it's important to understand, is the most successful anti-crime initiative in American history. I mean, just think about it for a second. In 30 days, President Trump put together a team that saw the largest ever violent crime reduction in any city in American history. Something that people had not been able to do in 40 years. That is a momentous achievement. And now the president is going to take that same model to Memphis, and as he said, more cities after that. The team that the president has put together has no equal today or anywhere in American history. I think what's happening here is that what the president has done is made clear. The power of federal law enforcement that was used for the last 4 years to harass and attack conservatives, to harass and attack Christians, to go after law-abiding families. The power of law enforcement under President Trump is going to be used to get all the criminals, all the violent offenders, all the murderers, all the cartels, and all the domestic terrorists off our streets. So whether you're Antifa, whether you're a domestic terrorist, whether you are a violent gang member, a drug trafficker, a trained Irawagwa killer, or anyone else that's threatening our people, President Trump is saying he's going to use his FBI, his DOD, his ATF, his DEA to wipe you out, to put you behind bars, to take you off the street, or to apply whatever legal consequences necessary. Mr. President, I'm honored beyond words to be a part of this team under your leadership as you've saved thousands of lives.
Thank you very much. Come on over, let's sign that bill. You want to say anything about our great military real fast? He's won a job, he's doing this guy.
All right, so in conclusion, so everybody knows what's happening, and then I'm sure they'll start asking him questions. Trump is saying that he's going to send the troops into Memphis. And this is official because it looks like he is working in partnership with Memphis leaders, with Tennessee leaders. So this is happening, and this may be happening as we speak.
President, so our Army National Guard is honored to be part of this mission. This is their community. A lot of them are from D.C., they're from Tennessee. When you talk to them, when you talk to the actual population out there who interact with them every day, they say it's a blessing to have them as a part of their life. And then for the National Guard getting to have this where they get to improve their communities, where their kids are growing up and they're going to church, and this is where their families are. Many of them, sir, have said this is the honor of their lifetime, so thank you.
Look at that nice face, and yet he's a killer. That nice, beautiful face, and he's a total killer. I don't know how you do it. Huh?
Lotion, sir.
Everybody here. All right, here we go.
Here's the same signature that he put on the Epstein birthday card, by the way.
How wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
They're all smiling as they know that troops are about to come into Memphis, terrorize local communities. Innocent people are going to get caught up in this. Black and brown people are going to be profiled by this. Low-income communities are going to suffer because Trump is going to go after anybody that looks homeless, anybody that looks like they're struggling. And a lot of people are going to be hurt by this. Not to mention there's going to be protests, and American citizens are going to get punished by this as well.
Okay.
Thank you,
Do you have
sir.
any? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Very
much.
much.
President.
No, thank you very much. Great job. Any questions, please? Yeah, Brian.
First of all, you've got a...
Did they take down the blue tent?
Yes, sir, they did. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Last time
that.
he hit me with a blue tent, and nobody knew what he was talking about. We found out, right?
Found out, right.
It was gone the next day, and they had a lot of...
Oh.
That was not so easy. That's a violent, radical left group. Okay, go ahead.
I've heard a lot of comments for doing that. They still have their First Amendment right, though. They're still
Yeah, well, I'm not.
You've got an amazing team behind you. You've done an awesome job for DC.
Thank
I
you.
want to get ahead of a story that I think might come out. You pushed out an email earlier today, really showing dozens and dozens of local media in Memphis highlighting all of the violent crime in that city. So they have no problem reporting the crime, but when you show up to solve it, they're going to run around town looking for that one person that says, we don't want Donald Trump in our city. What can you say to the media there in Memphis, Tennessee, to help?
Folks, mind you, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, by the way, the guy asking a question. And this is the same guy who lambasted Zelensky for not wearing a suit to the Oval Office.
Let them know the people want you there in their city.
Well, I'm not sure they found that person, because I saw them doing some interviews, and it looked like they were looking, but they were very, in fact, that producer and that person, I think they lost their jobs, because everybody was saying, we want Trump to be there, they want the people right here to be there. Look, it's very simple. In Chicago, they're getting beat to hell, they're being shot. If you lose 6 or 7 people die over a weekend, they consider that a successful weekend. And when you consider that a successful weekend, that's pretty bad. I had the president of Poland here a few days ago, and we had a news conference. Many of you were here. And I made the statement. I said, we're very happy to announce that it's been over 2
Yeah, we know he's embarrassed that he had to admit to the president of Poland that there was no murders because the troops were walking around basically turning the city into a war zone. And by the way, who knows what we can trust about the data coming out of this administration about what murders there are. But understand this, he's referencing the leader of Poland right now and has made really no comment about the fact that Russian drones were spotted in Poland. So if we're talking about Poland, how about we talk about that? How about we talk about the fact that when asked what you think about Russian drones spotted in Polish airspace, a huge incursion of NATO, Donald Trump said he's upset, he doesn't know what to do.
weeks since anybody's been killed in D.C. And he looked at me like, is that supposed to be good? He's looking like, what kind of a place is this? And now it's been a long time, but, and as I was saying it, I said, I'm not sure if that sounds good to somebody. It sounded great to you, but it doesn't sound good to somebody from a country where they don't have violent crime like we have. But now it's a long time since that's happened. We went for years where at least one person was killed. Now you're not seeing it all. It's like the border. Millions of people a year ago, millions of people poured into our country. In the last 3 months, there have been 0, as reported by largely Democrats, actually. The border is secure. The country is secure. We've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I'll tell you, a year ago, we were a country in tremendous trouble, probably a dead country if it continued. So we're very happy about it. And so just, in terms of your question, people have never seen anything like what we're doing, and I think they're very happy. And they want us to be there. They don't want to be mugged. Who would say, gee, I don't want the National Guard? And you need that in terms of numbers. And also, you look at those guys, I looked at them, they're rough guys. They're, the Supreme Court voted recently on merit. We're a merit-based country again. I said they had tremendous courage to do that. We're a merit-based country again. When I looked at the people that were patrolling the streets for the National Guard and for others, I could see we're merit-based. They were rough-looking, they were tough-looking, and they love our country. So that's where we are, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Yes. Given with all that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing, a lot of left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these people here, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But
folks, he's talking about designating Antifa, which basically means anti-fascist. It's an organization that condemns fascism and wants progress. He wants to designate them as a terrorist organization, even though they have no connection to the Charlie Kirk shooter whatsoever. We still don't even know the motive of the shooter, but it's becoming more likely than not that he was right-wing and not left-wing. There's more clarity coming out that supports the idea that he was conservative, that he literally came from a MAGA family, a gun family, a Mormon family, which is a Christian family, and this shooter may have even been a fan of Nick Fuentes. But yet this reporter is saying left-wing violence is out of control. What a setup of a question, by the way, to get Trump to potentially designate Antifa a terrorist organization. And they may start with Antifa, but then they're going to go after other left-wing groups instead of real terrorist organizations like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who were responsible for January 6th and who are responsible for so many neo-Nazi incidents around the country.
Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking...
What do you mean they got away with murder? You cannot let this president off the hook like this. Unfortunately, there's no real journalists in the room anymore because they've all been handpicked. What do you mean they got away with murder? You're acting like these organizations funded the shooter or something. There's no connection at all. What revisionist history we're dealing with right now?
To the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol.
What evidence do you have that suggests people are spending millions of dollars on protesters? And by the way, this debunks the entire argument. Imagine thinking you have to be paid to protest Donald Trump. Imagine thinking you have to pay someone to protest Donald Trump. I would pay to go to a Trump protest. If the protest cost $20, I would pay to get in. Imagine thinking you have to pay people to protest the most incompetent and corrupt administration in American history. What a joke.
They come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it. And after 50 yards, it looks like an old beat-up vehicle. It was just brand new. It was just bought for the purposes. And they don't have to take that anymore. I let it be known. We'll take responsibility. They don't have to take it anymore. And they don't want to take it. They were told by a past administration, it became almost a culture, if somebody throws a rock at you, do nothing. If somebody spits in your face, do nothing. And I say, when they spit, you hit. You do whatever you want. You do whatever the hell you want. I watch it.
Do whatever the hell you want. When there's protesters who are American citizens, do whatever the hell you want. This is the rhetoric the president is using. He's saying, do whatever you want. If you have to arrest somebody, even though you're a member of the National Guard and constitutionally speaking, you're not there to conduct arrests, do whatever the hell you want. If you have to point your gun in the face of an American citizen to scare them, even if it's an assault rifle, do whatever the hell you want. If a protester spits in your face so hard that your face is sticky and you want to bring your gun up and maybe shoot that protester to calm the crowd down and get rid of one protester, do whatever the hell you want. That's what this president is saying. That's what he's laying the groundwork for.
It's so sick it made me. For 4 years I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had to...
When did this happen over the past 4 years? Did I miss something? Was I living under a rock? I remember on January 6th, there was a violent mob of domestic terrorists beating the hell out of police officers with fire extinguishers, baseball bats, crowbars, smashing windows of the Capitol building that we pay taxes for. And I understand that the riot itself was one thing, but they were literally also trying to overthrow the government, and they were threatening to hang Mike Pence and kill Nancy Pelosi. You don't have to agree with what Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi say to agree that lawmakers shouldn't be slain by people that are fueled by Trump's rhetoric.
Grin and bear, they're standing up like a piece of steel. And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, oh, you know, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right?
You should get awards for the fact that you are literally starving an entire population. You're using our tax dollars, despite being the no new wars president, to complete a genocide that is accelerating under your administration. Thousands of people die every single week. The footage is all over the internet. Every single American sees this and knows that you are responsible for what's happening, and you have no plan to solve that. So, of course, some brave DC women were screaming in your face that you are the Hitler of our time because you are conducting genocide. And for you to dismiss them like that is just another example that you will forever go down as a war criminal and a stain on our nation's history.
With the Abraham Accords and everything else, but a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. The people, there were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of...
Was she, though? I mean, seriously, who is paid to do that? Not a chance. Not a chance. Everything this guy says is full of crap. She was not a paid agitator. Not at all. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? When Trump went to a restaurant in DC to show how safe it is, even though there are reports coming out that business is down across restaurants in DC because tourists don't want to come to the city right now. Do you think I would want to go to DC right now? Would you take your family and your kids to DC right now knowing there's men with guns walking around and tanks and people getting arrested just on the spot for potentially speaking Spanish? That's what's happening in cities across America, and it's about to take place in Memphis now as well.
And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against the criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
Is that
Yeah.
Mr. President, can I ask you one
Yeah,
on
sure.
crime and one on Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
You floated potentially going into St. Louis. You mentioned you want to go into Chicago next. Could St. Louis be after Chicago?
It's going to be around there someplace. Yeah, we got to save St. Louis. Got to save these cities. This isn't like, you know, we're going to do something. We have to save St. Louis. We have to save Chicago. I know all about Chicago. I have a great, beautiful building. I'm so proud of it. But, you know, you get less proud when you see all the crime. When they announced 2 weeks ago, 11 people killed, this over a weekend, I think they said 38 people shot.
Ironically, they talk so much about gun violence. They talk so much about gun violence, and they never want to address the real problem, which are the weapons. You can help reduce crime in Chicago by working with Chicago police, by working with Governor Pritzker, and help get guns off the streets. But instead, you're perfectly fine with us killing each other because you'd rather fatten your pockets with those big NRA checks, and you just want to create a big distraction, put lipstick on a pig, and let us think that you cleaned up Chicago until you're gone and people start killing each other again because you didn't go after the gun epidemic.
11 people dead. And then you watch Pritzker get up and say, we've got crime under control. And I will say that Cash and the FBI did a good job. With a very light force, they went in, and for about 4 months, Cash or so, they've been working on keeping crime down. They have brought the numbers down a little bit. But those are the easy numbers. You know, the first 20, 25% are the easy numbers. That's where it gets. Then you have to bring in the big forces, right, which is what we always intended to do. But I think the FBI's done a very good job. In particular, in Memphis and Chicago, they burned down a little bit. Like 20% and 25%. Well, I guess it's not so little, but we have a long way to go. We think Chicago is going to be next, and we'll get to St. Louis also.
And on Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And New Orleans we want to get to, too.
Your FBI is investigating the potential role of left-wing organizations in the assassination. I'm wondering if you think if Charlie Kirk's assassin worked alone or if he worked with it.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he didn't work alone on the internet because it seems that he became radicalized on the internet. That's just by watching same things that you're watching. And
that's not what is happening at all. Every piece of information that comes out suggests that he's more conservative than we thought. And there's no evidence to suggest that he's working with organizations. He clearly acted alone. He clearly was radicalized growing up by growing up in a gun family. There's footage of him shooting guns as a teenager. Big guns, by the way. I'm talking about like high-profile weapons. And you're talking about people killing each other in Chicago, but you won't go after the guns, huh?
Hearing. It looks like he became radicalized over the internet. And it seems like his wonderful parents brought in a wonderful neighborhood, smart guy, great boards, great marks, great student. And then something happened to him over a fairly short period of time. Looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. We have a lot of problems with the left, and they get protected, and they shouldn't be protected. But as you understand, I think very well from the tone of your question. Thank you very much.
On Venezuela, on Israel. First on Venezuela, what can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narco-terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.?
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was, like, it's spattered all over the ocean.
I showed that earlier to all of you, by the way. You can't see anything. You have no idea what's on this boat. What he's saying is he's not going to release any proof, and they bombed a random boat, and we're going to just have to trust him.
Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And it was, plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It's very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing. And General Kane showed me a little while ago the clip, but you could actually see it. But you don't have to see it because we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's like no ships, you know, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why. Meaning no drugs are coming across. Probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, if maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business has probably been hurt. But no, there are literally no boats. This was a boat, and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea. But they do come by land. And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats. And you'll see that. But maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. If it doesn't happen, that's good. But they killed 300,000 people in our country last year. And we're not letting it happen anymore.
Folks, he said earlier on camera that they took out 300 million people. And maybe he misspoke, but he really didn't seem like he did. That's what he thought. He said 300 million Americans have died because of this. And now he's throwing out another random number, 300,000. Numbers are nothing to him. Numbers don't matter. And you, by the way, are just a number to Trump. Your life doesn't matter.
Israel, did Bibi Netanyahu speak to you directly to alert you that Israel was going to be striking Hamas sites in Qatar?
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah, go ahead.
How did you learn of it?
Same way you did. Go ahead, please.
You mentioned.
Does that concern anybody? He's admitting that Netanyahu didn't even alert him about this strike. Goes to show how much power Trump has in that region. Trump just touted how great he's doing and how he's so close to achieving peace. And now he's saying that he doesn't even have control of the country that he's funding. He doesn't even have control of the leader of the country in which we are bankrolling their genocide.
The shooter was radicalized online. Do you
think
believe
so?
That social media
By the way,
companies...
when I say that, that's my opinion. I think he was radicalized online based on what they're saying.
Do social media companies bear any responsibility for that? And how does that
I'm going to have to ask, I don't know, I'd ask Pam that question. I don't know if you or Todd could give an answer to that. Somebody has to bear some responsibility.
The social media companies that are overwhelmingly owned by billionaires that are favoring right-wing talking points, like Twitter, for example. Twitter is filled with right-wing conspiracy theories, far-right extremist rhetoric. And Trump is saying that he needs to go after the social media companies for radicalizing this shooter. In reality, these companies are radicalizing people to the right. To the right.
You know, and President Trump, I've always told parents, you got to watch what your kids are doing on the internet, what they're doing online, what they're listening to, what they're reading. They're all online. They're all on their phones all the time. Parents have got to monitor that, because this starts when you're young. This starts when you're young, when you listen to these groups, when you watch these shows, and parents have got to just be vigilant. So sure, that's part of it, and they're meeting kids online who they think are kids, and they can be anywhere in the world and talking to them, and yeah, they are being radicalized.
Mr. President, he went bad, and he just went bad very quickly in a sense, because he sort of led a very normal life.
By the way, notice the way their rhetoric has shifted over the past few days, because immediately following the shooting, they quickly said this shooter needs to be prosecuted, he's evil, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as they found out that he's a white Christian guy, now they've softened their tone and they're saying, well, he was such a great kid, he was so smart, he was radicalized, right? Because now that he's one of them, now that he's one of the far right, one of the Christian nationalists that did this, that took their own, now they're trying to cope and they're trying to move the goalposts and they're trying to say that something happened to this boy.
A life of, great education, schools, everything else, but somewhere along the line something happened. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. How will you send the National Guard into Chicago without the cooperation of the governor and the mayor?
Well, if they do cooperate, that's good. If they don't, it's not going to matter to us at all. You know who wants to help us? Police department. They have no respect for the governor.
That's fake news, by the way. And if that were true, Trump would be working with the police department, but he's not. And this is just another sign that this president doesn't respect the Constitution. The Constitution is just a guideline, and that he's willing to send the troops into a city, into a state, despite being the president of states' rights. He says, oh, the states decide when it comes to abortion, but when it comes to literal troops on the ground, Trump posting on Twitter that he's going to let Chicago feel the wrath of the Department of War. It doesn't matter. You don't need the governor. You don't need the mayor. That's according to this fascist administration.
They have no respect for the mayor. They respect us. And we found that in Washington. We haven't had total support in Washington from government, as you know, from everybody. I don't want to say the mayor because she's better than most, but we haven't had great, but we have had great support from the Metropolitan Police. They're like brothers of these people. They're really like brothers. You see that. They work together. And so if the governor wants to support, as I said in the bill, it's going to be his proudest moment, what he's going to do, the governor of Tennessee, what's going to happen with Memphis. In 3-4 weeks, we'll stand together and we'll say, look at this. The crime has almost disappeared, maybe completely disappeared. In Washington, they don't even know how to record it because it's down so much. They've never heard. I heard 87% is down. I said, really? Who are the 13%? Because it's more than that. It's actually more. Hard to believe, right? You're going to have the same results in Chicago. And we hope we have the governor's help, but if we don't, we're doing it without him.
And on social media, Mr. President, you had the framework that's been agreed to with TikTok, for example. Will China continue to have a stake in the company, or will it go?
Well, we haven't decided that, but it looks to me, and I'm speaking to President Xi on Friday for confirmation of that, and frankly, more importantly, a big deal. And we've had very good meetings. As you know, we were in Europe, our people, Scott Bessent. And
that's an update, by the way. So TikTok, the deadline is supposed to be Wednesday, but now it sounds like Trump is going to have an announcement on that on Friday, so we'll find out.
Jameson Greer and others. And it was a very big meeting with China. And
he said it's so funny.
They're treating us with respect. We treat them with respect, too. But it was very successful. And on top of it, we have what could be a very good deal. Don't forget, I've had more people say, could you try and keep TikTok alive? I use TikTok. I mean, I have to admit it. In the election, and look how I did with you. No Republicans come close. I blew everyone away. If you look back, not so long ago, Romney, he got like 7% of the youth. I got like 8 times that amount. I got tremendous numbers of views. By the way, I want to say, Charlie helped me. And Charlie was the one, get on TikTok. He used to say to me, get on TikTok. Charlie was unbelievable. So probably, and I did. I had somebody named TikTok Jack. And he'd put that camera, he said, just a real quick statement, sir, like 10 seconds or less. They didn't like anything over 10 seconds, but it worked. But Charlie is the one that really, and my son Barron also. And I have to say, Don, Eric, the whole group, it's important. And it can maybe even bring us closer to China. We had a very good meeting with China. I was surprised. I didn't expect it to that extent. And I'm going to speak again with President Xi on Friday. And, you know, I think that'll confirm things up.
Who's buying it? Question on Charlie Kirk and crime. On Charlie Kirk, do you plan to speak at the funeral, and what would your message be?
Well, I'm going on Sunday. We're taking a whole plane load, and they're having. I was invited on Saturday, but I said I'd rather save it for Sunday. You know, we're going to have a stadium.
Okay, sounds like Trump will be speaking at Charlie Kirk's funeral on Sunday. So mark your calendars, because I will try to bring that broadcast to you live on Sunday. Make note of that right now.
And I'll bet that stadium is going to be pretty packed. Maybe completely packed. It's going to be big, but I'm going to be at the stadium, and I guess I'll say a few words. I don't know, but I guess I will. But I knew him very well. He was an amazing guy. He was an amazing guy. He was all about young people, getting them started right. And he was...
Getting them started right, getting them radicalized from a real young age so they can become more and more extreme as they get older. He got them started right, really right, on the right side of the political spectrum.
A magnet for young people. They just attracted to him. He loved them, and they attracted to him. His wife is a tremendous person, by the way. He always had great respect for his wife. He got married. I didn't know he was getting married. I heard he got married, and he loved her. He really loved her. She loved him, and I think she'll have something to do with keeping that whole thing going. You know, Turning Point it became a very big deal, and I heard they had like 38,000. So he wanted to get it up to 20,000 chapters. That's a lot. That would have been a lifetime's work. I heard that over the last 4 days, they have 38,000 people want 38,000 chapters at colleges, schools, other places. Numbers that, nobody's ever heard of numbers like that. So I think Turning Point could be, through what happened, this horrible act, it could be maybe bigger than it could have ever been had he been there. And I will say this, he'd be very happy if he saw what was going on. And there's some very good people, because I speak at Turning Point quite a bit. And Charlie would call me up. So the last time I spoke to him, he said, sir, and I think it was Phoenix, sir, could you get to Phoenix? This was like in a day. I said, Charlie, I'm the President of the United States. You're coming, asking me if I could speak tomorrow in Phoenix. You can't do that to me, Charlie. But usually I ended up going. He was great. He was a great guy, and he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this, believe me.
Ilhan Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie Kirk a reprehensible human being. Should she be stripped of her committee assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. I think she's a disgraceful.
Trump is saying that Representative Ilhan Omar should be stripped of her committee assignments for critiquing Charlie Kirk. Insane. Critiquing a private citizen who had a podcast, who spoke at college campuses, that is now being celebrated and decorated like a member of the military, who was a grifter just like Trump. I guess grifters love grifters. And now a sitting congresswoman who represents a constituency that also doesn't like Charlie Kirk is potentially going to lose leadership positions because she was using her First Amendment rights. Well, if you claim you care about the First Amendment because you claim to support Charlie Kirk, even though his use of the First Amendment was mostly hate speech, how can you turn around and say that what Ilhan Omar says warrants her being removed from Congress?
Person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's people from her area, maybe of the world. I don't know. They got here and they vote her in. It's hard to believe, but I think she's a disgusting person.
And one more question, if I could. A lot of these, in recent of these kind of trans shooters that we've seen over the last couple incidents, this flag right here is up and down 14th Street. This is what would be a trans flag. A lot of people are very threatened by this flag. It means a lot of different negative things to people, violence. Would you be opposed to taking this flag down up and down the streets of DC?
Well, I wouldn't be. Then they'll sue and they'll get freedom of speech stuff, so that'll happen. But I would have no problem with it.
How does the flag of trans represent violence? This guy's saying the flag threatens people. The flag is there for people who are transgender to be proud. And the flag is there to celebrate the Americans who are transgender. There's nothing wrong with it. It's celebrating people who are living out their real lives, living out their real identities, went through gender affirming care to become who they want to be. And it doesn't harm anybody. Nobody does something like that unless they know they need to and they really want to. And they go through the proper care that we have. And by the way, other countries have been doing this. This is not new. And it's not like transgender was just born out of thin air. But of course, this administration, they need scapegoats. He said, oh, look, the last few instances have been trans. What? This instance wasn't even trans. Why are we talking about a flag?
I will say, and Steve might just mention this, Todd, you might mention it too, because we're putting out an order. Freedom of speech means you can burn the American flag, which I think is horrible. But I noticed something over the last little while. As you do this, you start noticing things that you wouldn't normally think. It really causes unrest and violence when they burn American flag. So the American flag, I wanted anybody burns the American flag, go to jail based on freedom of speech, goes to jail immediately. But the freedom of speech protected them, right?
By the way, that's not law. It was his executive order that holds no water, by the way, no weight. It's not a real law. You can still burn the American flag. I'm not saying you have to go out and do that, but you can. It's your constitutional right. And it's actually very American because in what other country can you do that? These are the rights afforded to you as an American. If you don't want to be able to criticize your own government, if you don't want to burn a fabric that shows the flag of your country, then why don't you move to North Korea, where you can be arrested for life for simply photographing a statue wrong?
And that's been argued a couple of times, and it's one of those things. But you know what? Hasn't been argued, and we're going to be arguing it, I think, very soon, and that's the violence. They incite violence. So I saw it just yesterday, they burned the American flag, and people that were there were fine, and all of a sudden they're going crazy, and there's fist fights. It wasn't in Memphis either. But I will say, it incites violence. And I think you just do the exact same thing. Don't use freedom of speech. Use the incitement of violence. I mean, it's really, you have to see, these people were going at it. And you could burn other things and people just sit there, they fall asleep. You burn the American flag, and on both sides. But the level of violence I saw this flag burning cause was incredible. It was an incitement. So I hope you guys are going to be able to do that, man, right?
Well, there's also groups called Trans-Tifa. So perhaps if you can label them a domestic terrorist group, and in all reality, you could take that flag down because it would represent the Trans-Tifa.
I think you probably could. Again, you'll be sued. And
Trans-Tifa? Is that even a real thing? Am I just ignorant right now? Is Trans-Tifa a thing? And even if they are, how relevant is Trans-Tifa? And what does Trans-Tifa mean? Would it be transgender Americans who are against fascism? Sounds awesome.
It's okay.
No wonder this administration is threatened by Antifa. Antifa is an anti-fascist organization, and this is a fascist administration. It's a no-brainer.
I've been sued before a couple of times. You may have seen it.
Mr. President, Netanyahu said that he doesn't rule out targeting Hamas anywhere they are. You said that you don't want to see Qatar hit again. Are there any guarantees that Qatar...
Well, he won't be hitting in Qatar. As I say, I call it Qatar. You call it Qatar. You're actually more right, but actually you're allowed to go. The Emir said you can say it any way you want, but I've always thought of it as Qatar. I think it's a beautiful sound.
A beautiful sound. Okay, can you answer the question?
Actually, they've been a very good ally, and a lot of people don't know that. But he won't be hitting Qatar, but he will be maybe going after. Now, there was an article that I read in a newspaper just about an hour ago where Hamas said they're going to use the...
He didn't want to say what newspaper because he didn't want to admit that he reads from the fake news. He probably read the New York Times. Think about it.
20 hostages as human shields. They're going to bring them up from the dark tunnels, and they're going to put them in the line of fire so that if Israel goes forward, they're going to die. And I thought that was very terrible. And I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
right.
Do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. Oh, the who?
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat.
He doesn't even know who she is. This is how the right-wing government responds to when a Democratic lawmaker was slain by actual political violence led by a far-right extremist. Remember, in Minnesota, claiming the lives of 2 people. And no response whatsoever from the federal government. Trump didn't even visit Minnesota. He wouldn't even call Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Waste of time. He says that guy's whacked out. What am I going to talk to him for? And we're lowering the flags to half mast, half staff, whatever it's called, because Charlie Kirk. What a bold question from that reporter. And Trump said, I don't even know who that is. What?
Who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People.
You didn't think of it, but you were the one that initiated the flags to be lowered for Charlie Kirk. But somehow, some way, you need to be asked by Governor Tim Walz when it's a Democrat. That doesn't add up to me.
Make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be taking...
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country. Okay, yeah, please.
Dude, you just admitted that you didn't even know the Minnesota lawmaker that was slain, and you've made no remarks about the violent gunman that went to her home and shot her. And yet still you say it's the radical left that hates this country, even though we don't know jack shit about the shooter of Charlie Kirk. That's how you know that things are getting scary. The rhetoric from this administration is escalating every day.
Maybe related to the RICO work that you're
Right.
doing, and I'd like to confirm.
And we are really looking at that seriously.
Vice President Vance was speaking with Stephen Miller earlier today about targeting NGOs that they were saying foment violence.
Right.
Is that? Can you speak more to that? And what NGOs specifically are you looking to target, sir?
A number of them. Steve, please.
Yes, so I believe what you're referring to is there are these nonprofit entities that organize...
There's only a little bit left, by the way, folks, so let's watch the end of this, and then we'll call it for today's show. So stay tuned for the end here. Let's watch these final questions.
Federal law. They break off cement and they bring into riots. They have organized drop points for weapons, organized drop points for gas masks, organized drop points for all the materials necessary to launch a riot. Of course, you saw that during the Black Lives Matter riots as well, too. So there's this whole network of organizations. And I think the key point the president's been making is somebody is paying for all of this. This is not happening for free. And so under the president's direction, the attorney general is going to find out who is paying for it, and they will now be criminally liable for paying for violence.
And you know, a new thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately, but never saw it before, is they're walking in with bricks and rocks and everything. And the FBI or the Border Patrol or ICE or the police are grabbing them and taking them away. That's great. And then they whip out a hammer, and it's a beautiful hammer. Really, it's nice. You know, this is not a hammer somebody happens to have. These are serious hammers, beautiful, brand new hammers. And they start breaking up the concrete sidewalks and the granite curbs in many cases. Granite is hard to cut, you know, it's very hard stone. And they're banging away and handing out pieces of stone. So instead of having it in bags, they're banging the sidewalk, knocking that. You have to see what some of these sidewalks look like when they finish, and especially the curbs, because the granite curbs are very, very expensive. And
one day, folks, one day, we're going to stop hearing from this guy. His voice is going to stop. We're not going to have to listen to these press conferences anymore. The country is going to swing back in a progressive direction. We're going to actually see progress and innovation and peace one day, folks. Until then, we have to keep doing what we do. Stay informed.
they're great, and, you know, very hard. They are almost indestructible, but not when it gets pounded on for 20 minutes by some pretty strong guy. And then they hand out big chunks of stone so that people can throw them at the police and people can drop them off bridges into car windows. No, we have a long way to go, and we're going to make it all good. We're going to make it really safe. This country is going to be safe. We've got almost 3.5 years. Think of that, 3.5 years. It's a long time. It goes quickly. But at the end of that time, I hope one of the many things we can say is that we made our cities safe again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And there you have it. All right, folks, thank you for tuning into this edition of the Progressive Pulse. If you're still watching, thank you for being here. I'm going to sign off in just a minute, but I want to let you know, if you want to support my work directly, you can do so. Buy me a coffee or Venmo. Both are linked in the description of this YouTube video. I try to respond to everybody as quickly as I can on there with personalized notes. So it's a great way to just talk and support my channel directly. Please subscribe if you're new, and if you're returning, like the video and share this channel with another person so more people are aware that we go live throughout the week. I'll be posting YouTube video recaps of segments that we talked about today as well. Make sure you're following on TikTok, Instagram, subscribe for free on my Substack. That's my newsletter where you can get articles and videos as well. I also post everything on Facebook as well. Make sure to not feel defeated. Do not let this administration bring you down. There is positivity still. There is hope. There's momentum. Look at what's happening in New York with Zohran Mamdani. Look at what's happening in the streets of America. People are rising up. People have had enough. We are going to keep doing what we do here and educate and inform and push back against corruption and misinformation that we see on the daily from this administration. Thank you for being here. Stay well, stay vigilant, and fight the fascist Trump regime. Have a great rest of your day.